Where is the friend when I need him the most? Climb to the top where I try to get close. Counting the seconds, then I look up to you. In both hands a drink while I wait for the cue. Who needs a girl if you a boy on the run? No person of interest, no belt without gun. Shaking the fist to the man in the box. You wanted to scare him, you should have turned the clocks. Stones are cold, but the lighter keeps clicking.
Welcome. We are back. Another boring day in the market. The consolidation for the S&P 500, for the NASDAQ, for the Russell 2000, for most stocks is continuing. I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't even planning on going live tonight because there was literally nothing to talk about. I mean, yeah, the market pulled back a little bit, but most names on my watch list only up or down like 1 or 2% today. Really no technical changes to talk about. Like last night's stream is pretty much the same exact analysis as a lot of the stuff I'm going to be saying for the overall market. There are a few updates here and there, but really there's something starting to form kind of outside of equities. Or I mean, this actually does affect equities too. There's a lot of energy stocks, a lot of oil names, but there's some very interesting formations showing up on something like crude oil futures and energy ETFs and oil ETFs, and that's really what's going to be like the main focus of tonight's stream. And then I'll just let all of you carry the stream after that with take requests. So that's pretty much the plan. We also had BABA up 15% today. We were talking about that breakout very recently on stream. I think Mehdi brought it up in the chat. I'm not too familiar, but I feel like it was like last week. We'll get to that chart in a little bit. And yeah, let's just get started. I mean, Bitcoin, nothing has really changed. Still testing the breakout. You actually rejected the supply line on your first test. That's really your only change from today. Ethereum still holding 1708 as long as it can do that. Pretty good. You could also draw a little bit of a supply line like this on Ethereum. A little bit of a descending triangle kind of. That's literally it for crypto. Again, it's a very quiet, consolidating market, which could set you up for a huge move in the next couple of days. But for right now, you're still in that quiet zone. And you know what they say, it's always quiet before the storm, all right? The US 10-year inside day, like this is why I wasn't even going to go live tonight. And thankfully, there's a couple things we can talk about, but most of the stuff we look at did nothing today, all right? So like there's no point in me even really giving analysis and all this. Literally same exact analysis as last night if you want updates on any of these charts. That's literally where we're at. One thing that did have a nice move today was the Hang Seng Index, up 2%. A lot of Chinese names had a good day today. I'm not sure if there was a catalyst for that. I'm not seeing anything on TradingView, but yeah, it's been a very nice run for the Hang Seng Index ever since it broke out right over here. It's been gapping up a lot, but it is approaching some resistance around, I'd probably even look at it like this, around 22.3 to 22.8K. All right, so there's that. And yeah, moving on to, let's look at the VIX. Really no change. Again, it's very tough for me to stream and talk about technicals when you're getting no technical changes, right? You're just literally going sideways. So before we even get into like the overall stock market, let me just start off with like the title of the stream: energy, oil, and gas topping out. Now, don't complain to me in 1 week if you go to the gas station and you're still paying very, very high prices. Probably you will be. Probably not going to reverse in 1 week, but gradually we could be entering areas where you can be seeing tops for a lot of these industries. Let's get started with XLE. All right, this is the energy select sector. We were looking at this last night, and I took a second look at it today during market hours, and it was very, very interesting to me. So this is one of my top trade ideas right now. And to be fair, I said the same thing about the XLE, like probably some around over here, and that failed very, very quickly. And I said like literally the day after on stream, never mind, it kind of invalidated that because it's just going straight up. But I'm looking at it again as a very bearish chart. Okay, this has nothing to do with fundamentals. That's not my expertise. That's not how you should be watching the stream. You should just be watching if you care about charts. There's a lot of other resources you can find to help you out with all the news and stuff like that. But I'm just gonna tell you what I'm seeing on charts. Very, very bearish to me. All right, so let's break it down. Let's start off with the RSI. This is the first time the RSI is getting back to overbought. The last time it did that was over here, and that did lead to about a 10% pullback in just a week. Last time the RSI was overbought. Okay, you also have this very clear rising wedge formation, and you are kind of at a historical resistance. If we go all the way back, and if we zoom in at this area, you can see you had a high over here, some lows over here, a low over here, some consolidation here. So this 91 to 93 zone is a little bit of an inflection zone dating back to like 2014 twice. And you can see today your high of day was around 93. All right, that's very, very important. I mean, look how many years we're scrolling past right now. But that's very important when we get down to lower time frames. Remember that the high of day was around 93. Okay, so you also have this doji candle at the top, and pretty interestingly, I don't know, we'll see what happens tomorrow, but you have two similar candles before very big red flush days right over there and right over here. And to be fair, you still have some of those like over here as well. It's not like it always leads to that, but that was just something I noticed when you were kind of towards the top of like a short-term trend. You had like that doji candle, then you followed it up with a large flush candle. I'm not predicting that for tomorrow. It would be interesting if it happened tomorrow because that would be the third time in a row you do that. But I just wanted to mention that as well. Let's go over to the 4 hour now. Okay, you can see this rising wedge a little bit clearer. Last night on stream I was talking about this divergence, and I was saying you don't really want to think of it until it starts developing. Well, today it's already developing. So you have quadruple classic bearish divergence on the 4 hour MACD. You overbought here. That's a very clean looking wedge. Let's go over to the 1 hour chart. At your high of the day, you had a bearish engulfing candle right over here, and your MACD also flipped to red. And you have some textbook classic bearish divergence where you made a very clear higher high on price from these two highs. Let me mark that white so you can see it. Then you made a very clear lower high on your RSI. So this is your price. You made a higher high from this high to this high, and then a much lower high on your RSI. So every single time frame I'm looking at is showing me bearish signals, even on like the 5 minute today. And this was just more of an intraday thing. It doesn't really matter anymore. But it had this ascending grounding wedge that it broke down from. So that's XLE, and there's no certainty that it's going to be topping out around here. And I'm not saying this is the top forever. I'm just saying these are a lot of variables that look like you could see a pullback to me. So I looked at, these are kind of how I drew my reward to risk boxes, putting a stop, and again, this is on a short side trade, putting a stop at 94, which would be well above that 93 level I was talking about earlier. And then some like targets I found where you have a couple of days of highs over here. So $90 as a first short target, then $88. I forgot. Well, that's actually a Fibonacci level. We'll look at it in a second. Then you also have this $86 level for a take profit, which is a gap fill, and this 85, I believe it's maybe another fib level, and then finally this 82 is another fib level and also near these previous highs. But if I think I did it like this. Yeah, there you go. You can see a couple of these boxes I just lined up with the 236, which is that 88 level, and then the 382 I lined up with 85. So a mixture of gap fills, previous resistances, and Fibonacci is what I'm using for targets. Just like I would do the opposite thing on a long trade, right? I'd be looking for Fibonacci, previous levels of resistance or support, moving averages. I'm doing the same thing but on the short side. Again, that's not financial advice. That's not an official swing or anything. It's just a way for me to visualize what type of a move this can make to the downside if these bearish variables play out. And I'm going to be honest, I really could care less about a 2-3% gain. So I'm planning, and again, this could change very quickly, but for right now, I'm planning on getting into puts. I'm not sure exactly which puts I'm personally going to be entering today. I already alerted puts to premium members. They went up a bit, they went down a bit, they're kind of flat, but they're swing puts. And then tomorrow morning, I'm going to be keeping an eye out. But yeah, that's XLE, that's the first one. And then also, Cheddar was sharing this on the Discord today. Natural gas futures, all right, this is showing a rising wedge with quadruple classic bearish divergence on the daily. Large breakdown today. Very similarly, let's go over to crude oil futures that we look at every night on stream. This is another, like, can you see the same pattern occurring here? These are, and yes, very, very long-term, beautiful uptrends going straight up, but they're now creating rising wedges at the same time, and they're very, very similar sectors. So natural gas, oil, energy, that type of mixture of asset classes, you're really seeing the same exact variables. If you go down to the 4-hour on crude oil futures, you can see this wedge a little bit better, and you have some potential classic bearish divergence there as well. So these names have been running for a long time. A lot of them have heavily outperformed most other sectors in the market this year. But it would be interesting if we do start to see pullbacks in the next few days based on all these variables. And that's the one thing I really wanted to focus on for tonight. And then of course, like, you could look at individual names, like let's look at Energy Transfer, which is a stock. You could try and see, like, you know, are you retesting highs? You could look at this like a double top maybe. You draw your own wedges over here, but you're kind of seeing the same formations across the board. Very interesting. So that's like the coverage of what the title of the stream is. Now let's talk about the overall market, which again, very not much to talk about. I mean, you're still in this sideways range. You're still under the supply line of this wedge. Have not broken under 407, but you've not broken above 417. Nothing has really changed. All right, you're still testing your huge make or break level, which is your zone from 407 to 417 on the S&P. The price action intraday was you pretty much gapped down, filled your gap, went sideways, then you sold off over here. I alerted some puts in this area. They went up a little bit here, and then they went up a lot over here. Premium, but yeah, just a bunch of choppiness. You sold off a bit intraday. You ended up closing down 1%. You ended up holding this 410.6 support level. So going into tomorrow, you've got some intraday resistance on the S&P 500 around 413-ish from these highs over here. You've also got some support around 410 from the lows today and also these lows over here. So like very, very short term, support at 410, resistance at 413, but longer term and just what you've been doing for the last week, support is 407 and resistance is 417. That's literally all you have to know when it comes to the S&P 500 right now. That's it. There's just not much else to talk about until it breaks one way. But I did say last night, I think it's going to come soon, and I still think the same thing. And it is interesting. You're starting to see a slight increase in volume over the past few days after decreasing for pretty much last week. So that's the S&P 500. Moving on to the QQQ. This was another way we interpreted it. So one way to interpret all of this is just a sideways range. But another way we can interpret all of this is a bear flag testing and breakdown very, very quietly. And I'm keeping that drawing on my QQQ, but we talked about this last night, where what if this is a bearish break hook, and then if we got to go over the next few days, that could set you up for a major fall in the overall market. That's a very large bear flag in a pretty rough bear market. Those are textbook formations that could play out as well. So again, I wouldn't even worry about this until you broke under your range. So even if you look at all these charts as bear flags, I wouldn't even really care until it breaks under this little consolidation range. That would be a confirmation of the bear flag too. So QQQ gets under 303, SPY gets under 407, oh, I will be bearish unless something crazy else happens that appears out of nowhere. But that's not appeared for right now. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And I'm not really trying to extend things or like exaggerate them. It's really the same thing as last night on these charts. Russell 2000, you're still just testing these previous lows at 188 as a resistance, kind of. NASDAQ still in its range. Really no updates. One thing that was interesting today though, and this was a separation from the NASDAQ, the Russell, the QQQ, and the S&P, which were all red. Also, the Dow Jones was red. The ARKK ETF was actually up 3% today, outperforming most of the broader market indices. And not only that, but like we were saying, we want the S&P to break out of its little range, right? This little range over here. The ARK is already testing that before the S&P 500. So just like the S&P 500, the ARK has been in its own range. But as of the close today, you got your highest close since May 5th in over a month for the ARK ETF. So this is already testing a breakout to the upside. Next resistance is around $50. Let's see where that's from some highs back in 2019, 2018. And again, you know, this is all cool, but you still could look at it like this, right? And maybe it's just hitting the supply line of a bear flag. That's what makes it really, really tough to get a solid technical understanding of the market for the next couple of weeks until we get a larger breakout on the S&P 500 to either direction. Because either you look at it like this, which is a bear flag in a bear trend, that is a very bearish thing, right? Or you look at it like this, where you're not only just bouncing, but you're actually being able to hold your bounces for the first time in a long time, and then you're testing a breakout again. So there's two very different ways to look at it. That's why I would just wait for a few more days of confirmation. But interesting move nonetheless. On the 1 hour is testing these previous lows from the end of April as resistance. It's also in this ascending broadening wedge. Let's see what happens. All right, so those are the indices for the market. Future flat right now. What else happened today? BABA was up 15%. Very recently, I think like last week on stream, we were looking at this long-term bullish shark, the quadruple classic bullish divergence. On the daily, this channel breakout or wedge breakout, and it's played out beautifully so far. Not sure if there was some news saying rally comes on investor hopes the Chinese government will continue to ease pressure on its tech companies, increased after its national press and publication administration approved 60 video games for computers and smartphones. The country may be easing its antitrust campaigns as an attempt to save its deteriorating economic outlook. All right, so big move off that breakout. Now, like, this is just textbook stuff. You had a breakout of this really long-term channel. You ran right up. I did not chart this resistance today. This was charted the last time we looked at BABA on stream, probably like last week. This is a resistance from your highs in March, maybe some other stuff too, I don't remember. Wow, look at this. Where you topped out today was a top in 2014, all right? Think about this. On November 13th of 2014, you topped out at this exact price. And 8 years later, you're hitting the same exact price as resistance. It's just crazy to see stuff like that happen. Like it didn't top out here, it didn't top out here, it didn't top out here. It went up to that exact level. Next to resistance I see is 126 to 200-day and 130. But interesting move nonetheless. Just wanted to bring that up. I think even DIDI, which was another recent Chinese IPO, was up 12% today. This name's kind of in a long-term wedge. It's still within its wedge. I don't think it's broken out yet, but interesting move nonetheless. And let's talk about, I mean, nothing much to talk about in the swings. I'm gonna be honest, no update on Fisker. It was completely flat today. Well, it did make a nice move in the morning. In the morning, it did make this move, and we talked about this last night. Last night, the stream was literally titled Fisker Breakout, and I alerted Fisker calls to premium members yesterday right over here. Those calls were up about 80% this morning at the highs. See them. There you go. 9:41 a.m. The calls alerted yesterday were up 80%. So nice move on that 1 hour breakout, but it went right up to, and this was also a resistance identified ahead of time. Let's see if we can find it. Right over here. You can see it was at 934. I said 971 is looking like the next resistance. What did it do? It went from 934 right up to that level. 973. Okay, 2 cents off, and then it pulled back. So we're about 3%. So that was really the move for Fisker today, but on the daily, nothing's really changed. CLOV was flat today. It's still in its 1 hour wedge. RIOT was down a few percent today. Let's see if it's still holding that wedge demand line. It is still above the white wedge demand line. Ford still just testing a breakout. It was going for it in the morning. Didn't really confirm it. BlackBerry flat, US down a couple percent. There's nothing I can really say about most of the swings. AMC had a nice move today. That's one thing that did happen. What were we talking about the last few nights? The triple hidden bullish divergence, right? That's played out beautifully so far this week. You're still testing a reclaim of this important blue zone. Next resistance is around 1473. You had a high of day around 1428. That could also be looked at as a resistance level. Dates back to these highs over here, 1420-ish, and even some lows. Yeah, so 1422 is a resistance as well. And then GameStop made this really crazy move. I know Zeke was watching it and sharing it in the Discord chat. But I mean, you just had to see it live. I mean, it didn't like have a lot of continuation, but like if you were just setting yourself up in a long position anywhere within here, could have gotten paid very quickly on calls. Like within, I think this candle, I know it's a 5-minute candle, but it literally happened like in 1 minute. Let's go take a look at it if I can find it. I think it's this. Yeah, I believe this was it. 2% move in almost one candle, and then it just kept going. I'm not sure if there was a resistance there, but very interesting move intraday off that pattern. That was a nice one. In terms of the swing for GameStop, second target hit, 50% profit, testing 200 moving average as resistance, can't be surprised. And yeah, those are the swings. Again, nothing too crazy. So that's my update for today. If you want me to look at any tickers, drop them in the chat and I'll take a look. Remember, nothing I say is financial advice. And hit the like button if you did not already. Yeah, drop your tickers in the chat. HIVE looks like it's testing breakout. It's falling wedge. That's really it. Really large pattern. It could take some time, but that's a very real breakout being tested. So hopefully it can just hold above these lows from May 26th. Lucy was up a few percent. It's just barely trying to hang on to this demand line over here. It's kind of consolidating as well. Wish was up a few percent. This has been doing very nice since the breakout. This ascending broadening one. Any other take requests? I know it's a very dry market right now. I'm just, again, like, I'm here to talk if you guys want to look at charts. If not, there's always gonna be a next stream. Neo about to, or just actually hit second target of a premium swing for a 39% profit. So I loaded this to premium members down at 1450. 2 out of 3 targets have hit now. Got some resistance here dating back to these highs over here, even a couple of highs if we zoom in here. Levels are charted, nice movement. This all took place after hitting the PCZ of a bullish bat / Gartley, kind of a little bit of a mix of the two, and breaking this green supply line over here. So nice gap up and move today for Neo. A lot of other Chinese stocks are doing well today. KSCP, that's all I'm seeing right now. Not much I can do on this chart. I guess it had a little bit of a breakout that days back in terms of levels. Those are levels, all right? Remember, I'm looking for lows and highs that are intersecting. Pick out these levels. SOFI, it broke out, hasn't really done much since. It's testing its lows from May 24th. If that doesn't hold, there's a gap fill down at 580-ish. If it does hold, great. Resistance is around 773-ish from these lows over here, and then this recent high a few days ago, about a week ago. So just in a little bit of a short-term range between those two levels right there. Alright, so maybe that'll just be a quick stream tonight. Nothing too crazy to talk about. Thank you all for supporting the stream. Join the Discord, links in the description. Watch the free course, links in the description. If you want to join premium, I've had a few people think it's like a lot of people have Patreons, where it's like you have to join on like the 1st of the month. Otherwise, if you join on like the 20th of the month, you only get 10 days of access, and then you get charged again on the 1st. Like basically, Patreon for a lot of people bills on the 1st of the month, I believe. With what I use, you can join any day, whatever works best for you. I know some of you get paychecks on certain days, or just you have to pay off credit cards, like whatever it is, whatever works best for you. That's always open. I don't use Patreon, and yeah, that link for premium is in the description as well. If you want to check out what's there, go for it. If not, that's all cool. Thank you all for supporting me, and have a good night. Peace out.